I'm Connor Meade. I'm going to be taking over the interviews today because Johanna Madranda's at work. So let's get some people in here. Let's get some viewers up in this piece. I guess you can watch it later. But today we have an awesome, very hilarious comedian, but goes by the name of Vik Pandya. He's out here from Chicago. But I don't know if he's in here yet because nobody's in here yet. So I'm just going to talk to myself for a little bit longer until some motherfuckers get up in this piece. There we go. We got that. We got Vic here. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. I don't know. So yeah, we got Vic from Chicago. He headlined for us in July. He's also open for like Roy Wood, Michelle Wolf, which is fucking awesome. He has an album called Friends with 401k Benefits that was #1 on iTunes and then a top 10 on the billboards. The billboard charts, the chart billboards, which is fucking awesome and impressive. And I'm gonna bring him on. I'm gonna bring him on here. So let's welcome. Pew. Hit some buttons here. This is hitting buttons. Let's see. Is it working? There it is.
What's up?
Hey, how you doing, Vic?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I am just doing splendid. It's good and hot here. Is it hot there in Chicago too?
It is. It's like 86 and humid, which for us is
Right.
very hot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wet. It's wet outside.
No.
It's not fun. But I guess I gotta ask, what have you been doing in quarantine? Been keeping up? Are you keeping up with creativity, writing, or you just been chilling?
Yeah, I've been writing a lot, just like trying to write non-quarantine material, um,
Right.
and focusing on like other forms of content like sketches, funny videos, tweets, TikToks, like all sorts of stuff that
Right.
I had been neglecting, because I was like, I don't want to.
Right.
I'm very like I'm a pure stand-up, so I didn't want to do all that stuff, but I knew I needed
Right.
to do it at some point. So this has kind of been a good excuse to kind of get on some of that other stuff.
Oh, for sure. So you do have like a TikTok and everything?
Yeah, I got that. And actually, what's frustrating but also kind of cool about TikTok is like the dumbest shit is working.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like super short, like 20 seconds of a joke, and that gets like 2,000 views. And it's just like,
Right.
it's not, but something you spend like a lot of time on will get like five. So it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I'm
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
figure
It's
it out.
definitely right. Yeah, and it's like yeah, I guess gotta. It's weird because like the things like it's what the kids want, and I'm like,
Yeah,
and it's
it's
like
like
such
I
like
don't
a
know what.
realization, like oh, I'm not one of the
Yeah.
kids anymore.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm like 30 years old, and I feel so
Right.
old browsing TikTok. I feel.
Oh yeah. It's hard, but it's the future, I guess. So we got to
Yeah,
learn.
got to adapt, right? This is what this whole thing's about.
Right. Yeah. For sure. So that I'm also reading. Do you do like improv? I thought I read somewhere that you do have like an improv troupe.
Yeah, so I get started at Second City in Chicago doing improv and like graduated the whole program, and then I continue doing improv here and there, but not really as many shows, like just because I'm doing so much stand up. But I have
Right.
like a team I work with like once a week. Like we train with the coach. So we still keep up the reps, but just not necessarily like always like shows. Like I'm not touring during improv at all, but just to keep that muscle kind of sharp.
Right. For sure. So what came first, stand up or improv for you? What was your origin story? I guess.
So I did stand up first, and then I like bombed so bad that I was like, I can't ever do this again. I need to like train to be funny. And then I found Second City, and I thought in my
Right.
mind I was like, I'll do like 2 levels of improv, and then I'll take the stand up class which they offered. And Second City works like a college, so you have to take like prereqs. So for stand up, you have to take 2 levels of improv. So I was like, I'll do that, then I'll take the stand up. But I ended up liking improv, and just graduated the program. And it's like I feel
Nice.
like it's in Chicago. It's interesting because it's such a big improv scene that there's like
Hmm.
this divide almost, but then there's also like this group of people that do both or just like see the value in like having both skills because improv with like riffing like anything like that is just great.
Right. Hell yeah. Yeah. So I was always because Planet Ant and Independent. I don't when you went there. I don't know if you noticed it is like a big like improv community,
Yeah.
and
Oh
then
yeah.
stand up is kind
Totally.
of integrated into that.
No, it's
So
great.
yeah,
That's the
that's
way to do
awesome.
it. I mean, you get more
Oh
stage time
yeah.
too, right? Like, I mean, I don't know for
Right.
you. I'm sure you know this. Like, I'd rather have non-stand-ups in the audience. Like, if I'm doing a show
Right. Oh
where
yeah.
it's just a performer show, like having an improv team, that's like 8 people. That's great.
Oh yeah. It's great. It is, especially when they're right next door and they're done with their thing and
Oh
they
yeah.
wander in here and it's great. And this is fun. This is good practice, keeps your brain going. So
Yeah.
did you grow up in Chicago and start in Chicago, or did you move there?
So I grew up, yeah, outside the city, in the suburbs of Chicago, and then went to school at DePaul, which is in the city. So I went to school for finance and economics, and then started doing comedy right after I graduated. So it was a very weird.
Okay.
Was not
Right. So
usually
how many
how.
years are you in?
I'm now 5 years in.
Okay. Dope. Oh yeah, we've been killing it. 5 years in, especially. I was expecting. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that album. So it's you and two other comedians, correct?
Yeah. So
Or is it just?
no, in Chicago, I have a comedy collective that I founded with two other comics who actually met in that Second City class. And
Oh, cool.
we founded this group, like a collective called Team Us Comedy, and we produced a bunch of shows. We tour together. And then like 2 years ago, we recorded this album because we were like, we don't have an hour each. We're like 3 years into comedy. Like that's insane.
Right.
But we're like, we can do a solid 25 each, and then we cut it to an hour. And I got the idea from like Chris Rock has that album where he basically does the same set in like 3 different cities, and he cuts
Right.
between each one. So I was like, how do we take that concept, but one location, 3 different comics, and then kind of bounce it around. So it was really cool, just the whole process of like producing an album independently, from like a video
Yeah.
process, from like the material, and it just made us like super focused on that 25. And then setting it aside after that was also kind of like scary, but also good because it's like, oh,
Right.
now I have to do new stuff. So it's like I feel like I have a
Oh
solid
yeah.
of that material. So I think the Independent was the first, because that was in July when I headlined last year.
Hmm.
So I feel like it was like the next wave of material for me. So it was great to be able to run like all that new stuff in like one setting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how hard? Because me and Johanna, who usually does the interviews, and one other comedian, Carolyn Paul, we try to do like basically a similar thing, and the three of us
Yeah.
just go on tour together. And it's so hard because we're not known. We're only 2 years in. We started together,
Yeah.
so it's so hard booking enough for one comic.
Sure.
Like, how hard was that? Like getting the three of you.
Yeah.
Was it an easy process? But
No, it's definitely like, I mean, there's things that help when you're a team and things that hurt, right? Like if you're visiting another scene, it's very easy if you're like, hey, I'm from Chicago and I'm like, can I do a spot on your show? But it's like, hey, I'm from Chicago. Can me and two other comics do spots on your show? It's
yeah,
like, that's a bigger ask. So what we did is like, whenever we tour together, it's very like set far in advance. So we kind of divide up, like we have like an email template. We have like our credits in there. We have like, just like a really clean, succinct like way that we communicate. And that way we give people way heads up. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Like sometimes people are like, oh, we can only offer one spot. But then we have like a shared document that we're like putting all the shows in. So we're like, hey, you take that spot. Like we take this one. And we kind of divvy it up.
oh yeah, right.
The
Rock
next
paper scissors.
phase, yeah, the next phase what we want to do is actually tour the album itself, or like tour the show, where it's like we're coming and presenting friends with 401k benefits. But then that gets into like, you have to produce the show yourself, or at least work with someone locally. Like that's a whole nother, gamble. It's like, that's our show. And then we can, one of us will host, one will feature, one will kind of close, and we'll rotate that order. So
Right.
it's like, that was what we were planning for this year. And then all this shit happened. So, we kind of were like, well, maybe next year, but that's kind of the ultimate goal, is to have just us on the show. And it's our own like traveling, tour, I guess.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. Please hit us up when you do that.
Oh yeah.
We'd love to have you
Absolutely.
back.
You guys were,
Yeah.
I feel like the Detroit scene is like, it's very similar to Chicago, like you said. Like there's a lot of integrated improv, but it's also just like comics at the end of the day like have each other's backs, and I feel like that's
Oh yeah.
good. That's like a very Midwest thing, and I feel like Detroit and Michigan overall, like I've done tons of shows in Michigan, like through Funny Business and just traveling through the state and like doing it's like everywhere I go in Michigan. It's such a big state that people don't realize, like very different comedy in different parts of the state, but Detroit is always so fun. Like I was at Ridley's in January featuring there, and then I went from there to Sketchfest. So it was like a completely different coast to coast thing. And it was
Right.
it was awesome to be back in Detroit for a little bit and then go to Sketchfest. Like it was such a good like 10 days of comedy. It was so fun.
Right. Well, thanks. It's awesome. Yeah, I like our community a lot. I like Chicago a lot. When we went through there, it's always a good time. And whenever you have Chicago comics here, it's always cool.
Yeah,
It's really just,
definitely hit us
hop
up
over
if
the
you're touring
pond.
through here. I mean, once things are back to normal, hit us up, because I
Right.
love to do stuff. I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like next year, honestly, but
Right.
we always, like, out of town people, we always try to help out.
Oh, for sure. Thanks. I'll keep that in mind. I guess, yeah. Did you ever think, I guess while we're talking about cities, have you ever thought about moving to New York or LA, or did you just always know it's going to be Chicago for you?
I mean, I
Like
feel
since you
like
grew up there.
yeah, I grew up here. I'm very my family's here, like all my friends are here that are not comedy people too, like just my like college
Mm.
network. So it's gonna be very hard to leave, but at the same time, I know that's like a natural thing that's gonna have to happen. So for me,
Right.
it's like I'll move when there's an opportunity. Like I'm not gonna be one of these people who goes and restarts. Like I feel like a lot of comics, like every 5 or 6 years in Chicago, there's like a mass exodus of people at that like
Yeah.
5 to 8 year mark who are just like, I'm tired of Chicago, like I'm gonna leave, but then they don't necessarily have anything in the next city, so they kind of restart. So for me, I'm like,
Right.
I'll move for like a writing job, or I'll move for something like that. I'm not gonna move just to do stand up. Like it's got to be some other kind of draw for me. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
working on now, is trying to get a full time job in comedy.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's great. Have you like sent any like writing stuff to like SNL or
Yeah,
like stuff like that?
that's kind
Man,
of the
that's
thing. And,
crazy.
and going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, like having to
Yeah.
write, like not just stand up, like writing packets,
Hmm.
like writing sketches, like doing all that is important, because then when you have to do an actual packet, like you have stuff to draw from. So putting that stuff together, sending a few out, but I've really only like started scratching the surface of that. So it's been nice to just like drill down, and but it's like I always neglected it because I was like, oh, let me just go do stand up. But now that there's no like
Right.
outlet to do stand up, like, I guess I have to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just miss like stand up so much. It's
Oh
very
God,
hard.
I know. I'm about to do a drive-in show, and
Oh,
so
nice.
like
Yeah,
this
I
is
heard
gonna
about
be
those.
like, yeah, I'm excited, but I'm also like, is this gonna, are they gonna honk when they like something? Like, how's
Yeah,
this gonna
yeah.
go?
I mean, honestly, for the audience, that's probably like a little more fun. But I feel like all these like
Right.
digital ways of doing comedy, it's for the performer, it's not great. Like even these
No.
Zoom
Yeah.
shows, like a lot of times everyone's on mute, so then you're just like delivering
Hmm.
a speech. Like it's not like a
Yeah.
performance. So I mean, the
Right.
best Zoom shows I've done, they have like a dedicated audience pool, so they have like a few people off mute who kind of know to laugh. But it's still
That's
like
awesome.
it's still a little bit of that delay. It's not the immediate feedback that
Right.
you get.
You're in
So
the middle of like another joke and they're laughing
yeah,
at the punchline from 10
exactly. And it's
seconds
like
ago.
if someone's internet is trash, like they laugh way later, and it's like it's just this weird like. But I guess that's
It's
all we got.
awkward.
So
Right. Hear someone's baby crying.
yes, yeah,
Which I guess which happens in real life sometimes too. You never know.
yeah, true.
That's fine. I've avoided those. Like I don't know. I just can't, like I know I should. I just gotta get over it and
Yeah, I mean,
do the
I
Zoom
kind of
shows.
like, I feel like that's what I was like saying, like adapting is like all what comedy is.
Hmm.
So it's like, but
Yeah.
also some people don't need, I think there's like performers and writers. And I feel like if you're kind of a performer and you feel like you need to like get the reps in, like that's good, like go do the Zoom shows. But if you're a writer and like you don't necessarily need the kind of stage, like you could be banking so much
Hmm.
material right now. And it's just
Oh
like
yeah.
everyone's different. So I feel like if whatever you need to do to like make yourself feel like you're doing something, like go do that. But I mean, the less people, I encourage no one to do comedy. So there's less, less of us out there.
Right.
I'm like, the less people, the better.
Yeah, I hear about like there's some people like going out and doing comedy in like these packed bars. I'm like, how long until they're sick and gone? No,
Yeah,
not
right.
really,
Yeah.
but more room for us now. But what else? What else I got written down on here? I'm not the usual interviewer,
Wait, you
so
said
usually
who does it normally?
Johanna Madranda.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she's. I feel like me and her were both gone when you were
Yeah,
here for
I
some reason
remember.
when you
I
headlined.
forgot who it was. It was I know EJ hosted,
Hmm.
and then I forgot who else was on the show. But then and then Kyle from 313. I did 313 Comedy Sunday, so I met
Yeah,
all
that's
that.
a great show.
Yeah, that's great. Super fun.
Mm. So much fun. I guess I always like to ask, like, what kind of advice do you have if someone were like to start comedy today? What's something that you wish someone told you to do or what not to do?
I think for the biggest thing is like write what you think is funny, not what you think the audience is going to find funny. And like it seems simple in concept, but like I know when I started, like I listened to like my first year sets, and I'm just like I feel like I'm like getting laughs, but it's just like stuff that I'm not like excited about. Like I'm doing it because I
Right.
know they'll laugh at it, but it's not stuff that I actually care about talking. And it's like as you do comedy longer, you start to get better at making those like uncomfortable things funny, or like stuff that's in your own life where it's like no one can take this bit because this is totally me, versus like here's the general commentary on this one topic that everyone's going to have the same viewpoint on. So like I know I'm going to get a laugh because everyone thinks this already. I'm just saying it.
Right.
But like that is something to start trying for that earlier, It's harder to do, but like it'll make your comedy so much better, I think. But it's just like
Right.
having that mentality of like writing what you think is funny and sticking with it, because as you know, like open mics like are a crapshoot. Like you could do the same joke 5 times and it does well 3 out of the 5 times. You're like, should I keep it? Should I not? And it's like sometimes like waiting till you do a good show and doing the joke there and be like, oh, it actually works. Like maybe I should keep that. Like
Right.
perseverance and longevity, I think, are key in comedy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's awesome. All right. Oh shit, I'm already running out of questions. I'm the worst at this. I am not prepared. But
Right.
I woke up, was way too hungover, and I was like, oh yeah, I have stuff to do today. I'm not
Well,
used
I
to
mean,
that.
that's the thing with like, there's nothing to do but drink. Like, I feel like
Right.
it's very. I used to have a good system where I'd be like, I'm gonna drink like on the weekend, and then I like, I'd have my shows like Friday and Saturday. I'd drink one of those 2 days, and then Monday
Hmm.
through Thursday, I'll be, like I'll be sober. I'll be a good person. But now it's just like every day is Friday, so it's like, what?
Oh,
It doesn't
right.
matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. What's the point of not? I mean, I was doing good. There was like 3 weeks where I'm like, I am not gonna drink. I'm just gonna work and get healthy. And then I just got like I don't know. I felt like I was like writing more, and then I'm like, I just don't even know what to write about anymore. I reached in
Yeah.
my past so much. I was like, what? I need new experiences. I'm just gonna get drunk.
I know that's the thing about comedy. Like we write about what we go through, and it's like you don't
Right.
want. I mean, I guess you could say you're going through whatever. Like, everyone's going through isolation, all these things, but it's like you don't want it to just be like super depressing when you come out of
Right.
quarantine. It's like
Yeah.
all my material is about how I found out I'm like a horrible person. Like I thought about shit too long. So I'm trying.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to write. There's definitely some bits that have come out of that, but a lot
Oh
of it
yeah.
is like me trying to go back into like old jokes that I'm like I wasn't really feeling 100% confident on, and like trying to
Hmm.
rewrite stuff and just look at things differently, because like we have the time now, so it's like there's no
Right.
use. And 5 years in, like I have a ton of random stuff that like there's just certain jokes that I know has something there, but I set them aside, and I'm like trying to look at those now and piece
Oh
those
yeah.
together.
Yeah. There you go. That's great advice. Shit to do. I've been watching Hoarders. That's what that's where I've been getting my material from now. I have a good solid like hour of Hoarders material now.
That's that's great. No, I mean that's good because everyone's gonna be watching shit, right? Like gonna talk about this.
Right. Yeah.
I'm reading
Just
this guy's comment here. This is my friend, Real Funny Pat. Ask him what product he uses.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Getting
What's in that
trolled.
hair?
Yeah, I'm a pomade person, but this is like everyone who knows me and probably the people you at the Independent know, like a very clean cut person. So like this is the longest I've gone without a haircut, and I feel gross. Like I feel like
Right.
so underprepared. But it's kind of funny because like it's it goes back to everything. Like nothing matters anymore. So like
Hmm.
I feel like it's kind of nice. Like you don't have that pressure to look a certain way or to be a certain way,
Right.
because now the whole convention is like different. Like after we all come out of this, it's going to be like what's normal is not going to be normal like a month ago. So I think that's
Right.
going to be an interesting. I feel like comedy is going to be so different.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of excited about it though. I feel like people are going to be more eager and more like wanting entertainment
Yeah,
and
I
wanting
think
to
so.
laugh. Yeah. And they're going to be so desperate to want to go out.
Yeah. Are
This is the
you
thing. Is
guys?
like, are we going to have to switch out the mics or?
Yeah, yeah. Are you guys? Do you have like a date when that's going to come back for you guys yet, or no?
Nah, no, we're probably going to be one of the last to like open, just because like it's a good community. You want to keep everyone safe, so we're
Yeah.
probably not even. We're gonna like test the waters and see how other places go.
Yeah, I mean, and all the ideas that are like, the people are like, oh, we can do like 6 people in a room and then the comedian on stage and then we stream that. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind
Right.
of cool, but like, why would you, if you're watching that online, like, wouldn't you rather just watch like a Netflix special? Like, why would you watch like a
Yeah.
shitty show? Like, so I feel like there's all these ideas being thrown around about like what to do. And I feel like the only way is like either, yeah, pure Zoom show or
Hmm.
just in person, and that's it. And like that's the moment. You don't broadcast it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because it's so hard. Because it's like half of it is just like feeling the energy in the room, and that's where like half the fun
Yeah,
is. And
I
that's
know.
what I feed off of. So that's why like Zoom's so hard. I'm like I can't read anything or like get I don't know. It sounds like woo
Yeah.
woo and like whatever, but this is how it is. I don't
No,
know.
I mean I do like a decent amount of corporates, like usually like at least one or two a
Hmm.
month, and I've done a few on Zoom, and like if you thought the in-person corporates are like soul crushing, like a Zoom corporate is like the worst possible.
Oh, I
Like it's
bet.
just like everyone is in like they're like working. They're, you know, they just joined this.
Right.
They're like annoyed that they have to join it from home. There's like kids running around and shit, and it's just like, this is awful.
Kevin, shut up!
Yeah,
Like, just yelling.
Like, getting heckled by a baby. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
God.
But
I just picture you just like see them just like just wanting to die, just staring into your soul. Like I could. Oh God, that sounds horrifying. I've only done, because I'm new, I've only done like one corporate gig, and I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. But they had a full ass buffet and open bar, so it was actually like the best day of my life.
Some of them are good. I mean, it just depends. Like anything, like if the setting is decent, like they got the microphone, they told people comedy was happening. Like the show will still be decent. It's just like, you know, I remember when I was pretty new, and I was like, they're like, okay, 15 minutes of clean material, and like. That's like scary when you're like 2 years in. Like,
oh yeah,
that's hard to do, and so like now I'm more comfortable because I can pull from stuff, and I have like a 30-minute clean set that I use, but it's just like, you know, that's not necessarily my immediate style. So I think
right. So does it feel unnatural?
Yeah, it's like the added pressure of like I have content I have to avoid, and I have to be funny. It's like the best part about stand up, like you're saying, is like feeling off the energy and like pushing jokes, and like you can totally just be yourself up there. You don't need to worry about people's like parameters and what they want. So that's just the mentality switch. You have to be like, okay, I can't, like for me, I just can't finish a lot of jokes because I'm like, the tag will get worse. So I'm just like, I'm like, let me get like right here. And I'm like, all right, next joke. But I know in my mind, I cut that joke like 30 seconds short, you know?
Oh yeah. I always do the thing where like I try not to swear. And it's just, and then that just completely throws me up because naturally I would just say like fuck here to like emphasize this part of the joke, and I have to say frick, and then it just throws it off.
Feels weird, and then you feel weird saying it, and it's like now your momentum is off.
One fun discovery from like a clean show I had to do is instead of saying cum, I said a diddle juice, and then I just kind of kept that forever.
I was gonna say that's better than cum. Like that's
this is diddle juice. That's so silly. It makes it cute, you know.
And I think going back to like the advice thing, a piece of advice I heard, I forgot who said this, but the quote is, if the joke doesn't work clean, then you shouldn't do it dirty. And I think that is a great way to approach your material. Like if you're tasked with doing like a 20-minute corporate set and you're looking at your 20 minutes of material and you can rewrite the jokes, and if they're not funny without like the fuck or whatever, then like that's not a joke that should be in your act at all.
Yeah. Then you're just relying on like shock humor.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like I definitely have jokes that are like, you know, some of them have those words in it, but then I've also noticed like if I just trim it back or just don't finish it, then at least the premise works clean, which I think at least if that works clean, that's like something, you know, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, but I hate when some people are like so much like they argue that clean comedy is like it means you're a better comedian if you're clean, I guess. When I guess I don't quite see it that way, but
yeah.
Because I just like natural flowing, this like being a human being and the human construct that we've all created, and it's dirty and gross.
Yeah,
but
it's like I think people want it. I think for me, the thing I've learned is like I think being genuine on stage and like true to your character is like the main thing. And I feel like audiences can feel that. Like if you're a clean comedian and that's who you are in your core and your soul, and you go up there and you do clean jokes, people are like, oh, that makes sense. Like this person's clean. But like if I went up there and tried to do that, there's like, you know, I'm putting on like a front, like I'm not being myself. And I've noticed like the longer I've done comedy is like, that's what audiences really care about. It's like you being you. And that's also what makes you funny is like, you can be in the moment 100% and like be present. And as soon as you fall out of that moment, I feel like the audience is like, oh, this person's faking it. Like I'm out, you know, like it's very hard to ask people to sit in a room and listen to you. Like, so you better be yourself. Like, you better do what you're there to do. But, yeah, it's weird. Like, sometimes I go back and forth on that. Like, I've gotten away with, like, horrible shit on stage. But that's because, like, they believe that that's, like, what I actually think. And it is. Like, it's across and it's conviction. But at the same time, like, you know, you're doing a clean show and you say, like, one word and you just are so underconfident about it. And then you feel, like, the whole room tense up. And you're like, and then you tense up. And you're like, fuck, I just totally blew that, you know?
Right. Well, sometimes that's half the fun, though, is like having those tense moments. And then if you like, oh, we feel so good, and you like get them back. I think it's almost better than having them the whole time, is like finding a way to get them back.
Yeah, if you can earn their trust after like a colossal fail, like that's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like a roller coaster.
That's why I think comedy will never be uninteresting. Is like no two shows are the same. Like you
Yeah.
can, I mean, I think the most sets I've done in a night is like 7. Like in one
Mm.
night, I did 7 shows, and each show was different. And it started at like 4 p.m. because I did a corporate, and then I went all the way to like I did a midnight show. And I feel like throughout the
Wow.
day, it was just like it was like almost like different sets because I was like I can't do the same material here, but it also was like every
Mm-hmm.
audience was different. Some shows had restrictions, some didn't. Like the
Mm.
time was different, so it's like you can't ever get bored. Like it's a constant
Right.
puzzle, to figure that out.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, 7 shows, man. Chicago. That's nice.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, on the
like
weekend in
we're a little
Chicago,
lucky.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
rack up, like typically if you're a club comic, like if you work, all the clubs in Chicago, you can probably do like 3 to 4. But
Hmm.
if you even through independent shows, like there's enough on the weekend to kind of to balance that out. And Chicago's not like it's not like New York where it's so big that you can't get from place.
Right. Oh, did we lose you? Oh wait, maybe you lost me. I don't know. I have horrible service out here, so it was
No, you're good.
possibly me.
I mean, independent does they're still doing is it 2 shows Friday and Saturday now?
Oh yeah, we have a booked open mic, and then we have like the kind of like have entertainment while people are coming in, and then we have like our main event, and then at night we have what's called the shit show, which is like the Chicago Power Hour, but like slightly different. We just
Cool.
have yeah, it's like barely different, but
Yeah.
Ken Witzgall, which is the guy that like started Power Hour in Chicago, he's in Detroit now, and he kind of I guess gave us pointers on how to do it, and we do
Oh, that's
that at
great.
night.
Yeah.
It's a comedy party at the end of the night.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I feel like that's the part I realize I miss too about comedy is like just
Oh
seeing all those people and like,
yeah,
I'm not necessarily like a huge hang comic, but like even just the little moments of like backstage in the green room,
yeah,
like just shooting the shit, like roasting comics, like that is like all so
yeah.
fun. And I feel like missing that. It's just like, all right, I do my Zoom show and I just go downstairs. Like it's just, it's just
Right.
it's weird. It just feels so different.
Oh, I know. I was just thinking that, especially if you're like drinking or like doing a podcast. Because I've been doing like podcasts with friends or like
Yeah,
live streaming with friends.
sure.
And then like once you like turn it off, it's like, well, now I'm just drunk in my room by myself, and it
Yeah.
feels so weird.
That it quickly becomes like from exciting to sad. Like usually when you're
Yeah,
out, at least it's like, oh, it's gonna keep going. Um,
yeah.
yeah, and it sucks too. Like I was looking at like all the shows that I was like that have been canceled, and I remember like the first week of this, I was like writing them down so I could like follow up later. And then I was just like, oh, it's just the whole 2 months. Like it's like there's no point in
Yeah.
writing shit down anymore. It's just everything you
Right.
down there. And I was supposed to host Zanies in Chicago the whole month of May. So like
Uh,
I'm looking at all the headliners that were lined up that I would have been able to work with, and I'm like, oh, this is like it's so,
the
and like I can't get that work back for at least 6 months, if not a year.
right.
So it's just like
Have
everyone.
they been rescheduling?
I think so. They've been rescheduling a little bit, but like it's so far out that like you can't even see it on the page. But
Oh
I
yeah.
know for me, like they told me that like yeah, obviously it's closed, but like as soon as it opens again, we'll let you know. But then for me, I'm
Mhm.
like I don't know if people are even gonna fill that room. Like that's a tight, small room, and it's like what's that gonna look like with social distancing and like I don't know if it's ever gonna be like this feeling of a packed, sold out show. I don't know if we're gonna
Right.
for like a long time.
Right. Yeah, it is scary because like I feel like comedy and music are gonna be like the last things to really come back
Yeah, and I feel
for
like
this
like you
live
were saying
performance.
earlier, like I think that's what people need the most. But
Hmm.
ironically, it will be the last to come back.
Right, for sure. So I guess we're gonna start wrapping it up. Is there any like we always like to ask a wholesome question? What's the thing like you're most proud of so far in your comedy career?
Um, I think, I mean, I think the opening for Roy Wood Jr. like a year into comedy probably like
Yeah.
it was just like that moment like vaulted me into so many other moments and got me into so many festivals like just that clip like because as you know like when you're new like getting a good clip is like everything and it's
Yeah.
very hard to get a good clip when you're doing mainly open mics and it's like the shows you do are like bar shows so it's like how do I get a good clip
Hmm.
that doesn't it's clearly not like a padded room but it's like a legitimate room so it's like all these things have to line up so for
Right.
me like getting that clip and having that opportunity to do that like that helped my career. I think it like 3x my career early on. So I was really
Right.
proud of that moment, and it also like I have a relationship with him now, and like I work with him at
Oh
Comedy
yeah.
State. Like it got me into another comedy room that I was trying to get into. Like, and it's also just cool to be able to like, oh, I can just text Roy Jr. and be like, hey, like, what should I do about this? Or like, what do you think about this bit? Like, I remember the first time we met, he basically like obviously he watched my set, and then after the show, like he did it like over an hour and like a half. It was insane. It was ridiculous. And after the show, he's like, "Hey, I really like that joke you did." And he was like talking about my set, and I'm like, "Do you remember? Like, this is how do you even remember this? Like, you just did an hour
Right.
and 40 minutes of material, and you're like giving me helpful like feedback on these jokes." And it's just like
Wow.
it was really cool to see. And like, I mean, I think comics. That's what's cool about comedy is like you stay kind of humble throughout your whole experience because
Hmm.
everyone knows like you all start from the same trash beginning, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's kind of cool when you like someone who's like you look up to is just like a normal person and they're just like, hey, like,
Oh yeah.
you know, and like it means so much when someone who's like that good tells you like you're funny because that will carry
Hmm.
you, you know, through like
Oh
20 shitty shows. So
yeah, for sure.
I think that
That's more
moment,
than like, oh sorry, there's more than like a whole audience liking you. If you have like
oh,
one really good comic tell you, it's like,
yeah,
oh,
it's like you know when you're doing a show and you like there's other comics watching like you can kill the show, but you want to make sure the other comics tell you it was also good. Like, yeah,
right.
the audience is one factor, but you also want to be like, oh, I need like all the comics that are here to be like, yeah, that was really funny.
Hmm. That's also another thing I really love about comedy is like how quickly you can be connecting with these bigger comics,
Oh
like
yeah,
how it's not really that far away.
no, it's like I think of comedy as like different levels. Like if you're an open micer, then you get into like independent shows, and you get to clubs, and you get to festivals, and you get like headlining and all the other levels. But like you're saying, like each level you go up, I think it's smaller, so it actually becomes almost like easier in a way to be like, oh, now I did a show with this person, like who I,
Right.
you know, when I started, I couldn't even imagine us being in the same room, but they're just
Hmm.
passing through town, and now we're on the same independent show together, and it's like not that crazy, like. I mean, I think the
Right.
first open mic I did in Chicago, like, or a first or second one I saw, like, Dave Attell had that show on Comedy Central called Comedy Underground, or
Yeah.
it was like that basement show. It was like all like uncensored. And I forgot what the comic's name was out of Chicago, but he was at the mic and he was just on the show like the week before. And so for me, I was like, man, comedy is crazy. You get to meet famous people. Like I
Oh,
didn't know
right.
who he
Yeah.
was in Chicago, and I'm like, this is incredible. And then I never saw a famous person again for like a year. But in my mind, I
Yeah.
was like, this is crazy. Like comedy is like they're on TV and he's like at the mic right now, and it was just really funny. Like this whole
Right.
experience of like, you know, you think like you can just talk to these people. It's like it's not that crazy of a barrier.
Right. Yeah, it's like it's right there. I remember when I was like 3 months in, I did a show and I was first on the lineup and I had to rush to go see Kyle Kinane right after. It was when like Bert Kreischer and Kyle Kinane and
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah,
few others went on tour. And the guy who was closing the show that I was on opened for Kyle Kinane. And so like in the connection on like that same night, so like the connection in my brain is like it's almost like I opened for Kyle
yeah.
Kinane. Just like I just made that in my head.
No, that's
But
great.
it was like crazy. I'm like 3 months in, and that's like so it seems like such a crazy thing to me.
Yeah, and
But
that's
it's like it's right there. It's like once you start doing, that's when people are like, how do you start doing comedy out? Like I don't know. Like once you do it, you just start doing it, and it just goes or it doesn't. I don't know. It's just the work you put in,
yeah,
and
that's
it'll
what's
just
kind of
happen
like,
for you.
and it's like nothing else that you can do because like you can start a business and it's like yes you can work really hard but then there's so many like other factors that will like you know prevent you from getting somewhere, but comedy is like I can just go to more mics and more shows and like I can basically bottom line like drive my success myself. So that's what's kind of
Right.
cool about comedy is like you don't have anyone to answer to, like it's just you, so you can
Yeah.
throttle it on, throttle it off. Like that's why I like that aspect of being able to say what you want and also control your own schedule in a way. I mean, you can
Hmm.
really, if you're not feeling it, like I don't want to go out this week, like don't. Like no one's
Right.
paying you necessarily to go to an open mic. So it's like, you know,
Right.
it's kind of like it's scary in a way, but it's also very freeing, I think.
Yeah. I always get like anxiety, like oh I should be at the open mic working. So it's
Yeah,
really this you end up being your own manager, getting yourself in trouble, kind
yeah.
of.
You guys
But
have daily stuff now, right? Like
um, for like
like
streaming and stuff.
mics, like how many like per day in the Detroit
Oh,
area?
Detroit, it's like on average of you can like if you like do like Metro Detroit, you can do like 2 to 3 most nights. except for weekends. We're really the only at the Independence, the only like weekend open mic you can get.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
Like you can definitely get some stage time.
I think it was Trixie's is the bar. Is that
Yeah.
it? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did that show after doing Ridley's, and I think it was Thursday. It was a Thursday night. They do the show there.
Right.
So it was my first day at Ridley's, and like Ridley's is like crazy room. Like it's so nice.
Oh, right.
And then I went from there, and I rushed over to Ridley's or to Trixie's.
Or to Trixie's. This is a little
It was such a
dive.
Oh, it was so funny. It was just like, what a difference. Like, that's why I love comedy is like, it's so humbling all the time. Like, I just like featured to like 300 people, and now I'm like headlining this Trixie's bar show. But, and it was still super fun. Like, it was great, but it's just like, crazy. Like, it was so, like, there's a guy playing music on stage to your set. Like, there was wild shit happening.
Yeah.
And
that's
it was
Joe.
yeah, it was just hilarious. Like, I was like, what a weird life we have. Like, I miss those moments of like going from show to show and like being with different people and like having to figure it out, you know?
Right. Yeah, that is well. It's also always crazy when you do like, say you do a place at Ridley's, fucking kill, and then you end up going to some dive and like bombing there.
Oh, it's
you
so
just kind of be like, oh, fuck you, I just killed it to like 300
people saw me an hour ago. I was murdered, you know?
Right. Yeah, like I swear I'm good.
That's the thing, like,
oh man,
I've noticed with like good comics is like they will kill to 5 people or 100 no matter, you know, the situation. It's like I've noticed when I started first like when I first got past at Zany's and started working there, I really would watch the headliner sets and like I'd see them through the week because you work with them for like at least, you know, a few days, if not the whole month or like a week. And it's like that Thursday show or that Sunday late show, like the ones that are usually lighter, like if they're good, like they're doing just as well for 10 people. And it's like that is like what separates that headliner to like another comic. Like kind of delta is like what you want to achieve. It's like that consistency amongst all odds. And it's like, you know, you'll go up there, you're like, oh, it's like 10 people, like I can only do this well. But like these people don't think like that. It's just like, no, I can still give these people like a crazy show. And that's kind of what like the ultimate goal is, just to be able to kill anytime for anyone.
Right. Because that is frustrating, like frustrating booking. Because we're like a newer club, and there's been times where there's 5-7 people, and then the headliner's just in a pissy mood, and then they're just not really performing. They're just like thinking that like a waste of their time, and it's like, dude, come on, like you're still here. They're still trying to have fun. Like,
I mean, I think those people, if they stay, like those are more fun sometimes. Like,
because then it's like a small group hanging out. Like,
yeah. I remember, I think the 2 nights, I did a Friday, Saturday there in July, and I think Friday was like, it was pretty full. It was like 30 people or so. Like, it was pretty solid. And then Saturday was like a lot lighter, but I got lucky because since I was closing, like 10 people or like 5 people walked in, like right before my set. So it was actually like good. Like, it was like, and I could do like a mix of like a ton of new stuff. So it was almost like, for me, I was like, let me make the most of this and still make it like time to be like, I know I'm going to close and open strong. Let me try all this new stuff. So it was kind of fun because it was like, I'm still gonna have fun with these people. Like, it doesn't matter. And for me, like, I'm all about like changing it up. So I didn't want to do the exact same thing I did yesterday. Like, I wanted to make it different, and that forced me to, you know. And it's like all those 7 people, like everyone followed me on Instagram. Like after the show, like you feel like you really earned their respect because they're like, this person like worked their ass off for me. And it's not just like, you know, the 300 people at Ridley's are like, yeah, he was funny. Like, that's it, you know, that's the amount of connection. But these people are like, thank you for like giving us a show, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Especially if they know us, they must, I don't know, be really into comedy if they know like those smaller venues. Like, like they're not just like some, because a lot of times at Ridley's just have the people like, oh, honey, look at this. It's a little stand-up comedians at Ridley's. We can go that maybe. And they don't even know who's up or if they like stand-up. Or
yeah, there's some interesting, I mean, as I was saying earlier, like Michigan, wherever you go in the state, very different. Very different people. So
oh yeah. Even though it's like 2 miles like out of the city, it's like a completely, it'll be like woods and you're like in the middle of nowhere all of a sudden. But is there anything, I guess I'm going to wrap it up. Is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I guess the one thing that's happening now is like I mentioned, you know, you mentioned the album, so that's out already on like Spotify and everything and all the streaming platforms. That's the audio version. We actually are releasing the video version on YouTube in like playlist format, so it's, you can find it at like Friends with 401k Benefits on YouTube or our page's channel, which is Team Us Comedy, and like you'll see all the different clips. So we're releasing it in like chapters. So I think there's like 2 chapters left, but you can watch all that for free on YouTube.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It was fun. And I
Yep.
hope to see you again when comedy can be back.
Hope to meet you in real life at some point.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, for sure. All right. We'll see you, buddy.
See ya. Take care.
All right, that was Vik Pandya. I've been Connor Meade, and we are the Independent Comedy Club. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have headliners that we've had, headliners that we want to have. Check out any old videos we have on YouTube. We have interviews with like Sean Patton, Jenna Friedman, all kinds of awesome comedians. And yeah, hope to see you around tomorrow. Have a great night. Boop.